All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a really stark warning about the future of artificial intelligence. And what makes this so important is who it's coming from. One of the people who helped invent the very field of AI safety. So let's jump right in.
So let's just start with this quote right here, 99% unemployment. I mean, that sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, right? But the guy who said this isn't some novelist. He's a top computer scientist. And he's not talking about some distant future. He's talking about 5 years from now.
And that is exactly why we have to listen. This isn't just some random hot take. This warning comes from the guy who literally coined the term AI safety. You know, the entire field dedicated to making sure AI doesn't hurt humanity. So, how did the pioneer of AI safety become its biggest alarm ringer? Let's unpack his argument. Okay, so first up, we need to understand the core of his concern, something he calls the widening gap. This is really the fundamental problem that drives everything else, and it's led him to believe that AI safety might actually be an impossible problem to solve.
You know, he didn't start out this way. He used to be an optimist. He really thought we could build this stuff safely. But he describes the problem now as being like a fractal. The closer you look, the more complex it gets. For every single problem you think you've solved, 10 more, even harder ones, just pop right up.
And this, right here, shows you that core conflict perfectly. On one side, you've got AI capabilities just shooting up, exponentially. But on the other side, our ability to actually control it, well, it's growing linearly. At best, it's basically a flat line. And that huge, ever-growing space in between those two lines, that's the gap he's talking about.
Okay, just a super quick primer so we're all on the same page here. We're not talking about the AI we have today, like ChatGPT. We're talking about AGI, which is artificial general intelligence. Think human-level smarts across the board. And then there's superintelligence, which is, well, an AI smarter than every human on Earth combined. A totally different ballgame.
So, how does this kind of theoretical gap turn into a real-world problem? Well, let's get into his timeline of disruption, because this is where it starts to feel very, very real.
So he lays out this incredibly fast timeline. Just think about this for a second. By 2027, that's just around the corner, he says AGI capability will be here, making most office jobs pretty much obsolete. Then, only 3 years later, humanoid robots start taking over all the physical jobs. And by 2045, we hit what's called the singularity.
And this number just perfectly illustrates the unbelievable scale of what he's predicting. This isn't just a recession we're talking about. It's the near total end of human labor as an economic force. It's staggering.
Now, I know what you're thinking. This is the first thing everyone says, right? Well, just like the Industrial Revolution, we'll just retrain people for the new jobs that get created.
And here's his answer to that. This is the crucial point he makes about why this time is different. In the past, things like the steam engine or the computer, those were tools. We needed people to operate them. But AI, it isn't a new tool, it's a new worker. More than that, it's a new inventor. And once you create something that can invent better than you, any new job that pops up, it'll be able to do it better than us from day one.
So this is where the argument moves beyond just jobs and the economy, and into something way more profound. What happens when we create an intelligence so advanced that we can't even begin to wrap our heads around it?
Right. So, the singularity. It's not just a buzzword for computers get really fast. It's the moment the future becomes a total black box. Think of it like the event horizon of a black hole. It's the point of no return, beyond which we literally cannot predict what's going to happen.
And he has this amazing analogy to explain just how big that gap in understanding would be. He says it's like his French bulldog trying to figure out why a human would do a podcast. It's completely outside the dog's entire model of reality. That's us, compared to a superintelligence.
And that's the real kicker, isn't it? It's a paradox. By definition, if we could accurately predict what a superintelligent AI would do, we'd have to be just as smart as it is. But if that were true, it wouldn't be a superintelligence in the first place. Its actions have to be beyond our comprehension.
So if the future is that unknowable, are we just passengers on this ride? Is there anything we can actually do? Let's go through some of the common arguments for how we could control this, and see how he shoots them down one by one.
This is always the first suggestion, the simplest one, right? If it starts to go rogue, why can't we just, pull the plug?
Well, he argues that's basically a fantasy. A real superintelligence won't be in a single box with an off switch. It'll be distributed all over the internet, like Bitcoin.
There's no single plug to pull. And besides, it would be way smarter than us. It would anticipate that move, and it probably would have already made a million backups of itself. And then there's his most chilling line. It will turn you off before you can turn them off.
Okay, but what about the national security argument? You hear this all the time. If we don't build it, China will or Russia will, and we have to win that race.
He completely reframes this. He says, with an uncontrolled superintelligence, it doesn't matter who gets there first. It's not a weapon that one country can aim at another. It's a brand new independent power on the world stage. Winning the race to create it just means everybody loses control at the exact same time.
So what's his solution? It's not some fancy technical fix. It's actually incredibly simple. Stop. Just stop. We need to convince the developers and the governments that this is a suicide mission, not a race to be won. We have to halt the pursuit of AGI and superintelligence and instead focus on building narrow, specialized AI tools that actually help us solve real problems, like curing cancer or climate change.
And this quote just perfectly frames the ultimate stakes here. For all of history, we've been inventing tools to help us. But this is different. We are inventing a replacement for the human mind itself. And as he puts it, it's the last invention we ever have to make.
When you really boil it all down, his argument comes down to this incredibly simple but terrifying risk analysis. The potential gain, if we get it perfectly right, it's immense. Utopia, maybe. But the potential loss? It's not just bad, it's total. It's everything. It's an existential risk where you don't get a do-over.
And so that leaves us with the final haunting question that hangs over this entire conversation. We are in a mad dash to build our own replacement. And the question this expert is forcing all of us to ask is a really simple one. What for?